Imagine a mother's choice so consequential that it could instantly sever her children's ties to their own heritage, casting them out from the inner sanctum of the world's most famous family forever. This is the chilling reality and the high-stakes gamble currently surrounding Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, whose next move could potentially dismantle the carefully built lives of her two daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. Hello, dear viewers, and thank you for joining us today as we delve into a developing story that has sent shockwaves through the corridors of Buckingham Palace and beyond. Before we break down the intricate details of this royal dilemma, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update on the lives and legacies of the British royal family. Your support allows us to continue providing the deep dive analysis and historical context that you've come to expect from us. For decades, the Duchess of York, affectionately known to the public as Fergie, has been a figure of both immense public sympathy and significant controversy. From her fairy tale wedding to Prince Andrew in 1986, a day filled with pomp, pageantry, and the hope of a new era for the Yorks, to the tumultuous years that followed their separation, Sarah has always lived her life in the glaring, often unforgiving spotlight of the global media. However, the latest reports emerging from royal insiders suggest that she is standing at a pivotal crossroads, one that involves a staggering amount of money, the desperate need for security, and the future standing of her daughters within the firm. The catalyst for this renewed scrutiny is a deeply insightful piece by royal reporter Jasmine Carey, written for Express UK. In her analysis, Carey points out a series of pressing questions regarding Sarah's future prospects and the inherent risks she may pose to the delicate relationships Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie maintain with King Charles, Queen Camilla, Prince William, and Catherine, the Princess of Wales. At the heart of the matter is the persistent rumor of a tell-all memoir, a book that could provide Sarah with the financial windfall she reportedly needs, but at a cost that might be far too high for her family to pay. To understand why this is such a volatile situation, we must first look at the current circumstances of the York family, which are more precarious than they have been in years. For decades, Sarah and her former husband, Prince Andrew, have shared a residence at Royal Lodge in Windsor. This 30-room grade-listed mansion is not just a home, it is a fortress of their shared history. Despite their divorce in 1996, the pair has maintained a famously close relationship, often described as the happiest divorced couple in the world. They raised their daughters there, they hosted family Christmases there, and it has served as a sanctuary for Prince Andrew as he stepped back from public life. However, the shadow of Prince Andrew's legal troubles and his subsequent withdrawal from public duties has cast a long pall over their domestic stability. With King Charles reportedly looking to streamline the royal estate and reduce the costs associated with non-working royals, the pressure on the Yorks to find alternative private accommodation has reached a boiling point. The king is reportedly tightening the purse strings, and the massive expense of maintaining Royal Lodge, with its crumbling masonry and astronomical heating bills, is no longer something the crown is willing to subsidize without question. Finding a new home is not merely a matter of logistics for someone of Sarah Ferguson's stature. It is a matter of immense financial burden. The Duchess has never been a stranger to the world of commercial ventures. In the 90s, she famously became a spokesperson for Weight Watchers, a move that was seen as unroyal by the establishment, but was a necessary step for her to clear her mounting debts. She has since built a career as a successful children's author with the Budgie the Little Helicopter series, and more recently as a historical novelist with bestsellers like Her Heart for a Compass. Yet, the kind of capital required to maintain the lifestyle and security appropriate for a member of the royal inner circle is astronomical. We are talking about millions of pounds a year for private security alone, something the king has reportedly stopped providing for the York residents. This brings us to the tell-all book deal. Industry rumors suggest that major publishing houses in New York and London are dangling multi-million-dollar contracts in front of the Duchess, hoping she will finally spill the tea on her years within the palace walls. The logic is simple. If Prince Harry's Spare could break sales records, imagine what a woman who has been in the family for 40 years could reveal. According to Jasmine Carey's report, if the former Duchess decides to move forward with such a literary bombshell, the ramifications would be swift and severe. Carey writes that Beatrice and Eugenie may struggle to trust their mom if she puts pen to paper, noting that the princesses themselves could be the primary victims of their mother's decision. The logic behind this is both simple and devastating. The royal family operates on a foundation of absolute discretion. It is the omerta of the British aristocracy. If Sarah were to reveal private conversations, internal conflicts, or the personal habits of senior royals, the trust that allows Beatrice and Eugenie to remain part of the family's inner circle would evaporate instantly. We must consider the unique and somewhat fragile position that Beatrice and Eugenie occupy. While they are not working royals in the sense that they do not receive funding from the sovereign grant or perform full-time official duties on behalf of the king, they are still very much a part of the family fabric. They are frequently seen at major events, from the glamour of royal Ascot to the solemnity of the annual Christmas walk at Sandringham. They maintain close, warm relationships with their cousin, Prince William, and his wife Catherine. In fact, many royal watchers have noted how Beatrice, in particular, has stepped up in recent years. Following the death of Queen Elizabeth II, she was appointed as a Counselor of State, a role of significant constitutional importance that allows her to act on behalf of the king if he is indisposed. This role is a testament to the trust the king places in her, a trust that could be collateral damage in her mother's quest for financial security. Imagine for a moment the social and psychological impact on the sisters. As Carrie points out, the royal family may be less inclined to invite the princesses to family events out of concern that things may be relayed to Sarah at her writing desk. This isn't just about missing a garden party, it's about being excluded from the quiet, private moments where the family actually functions. The Sunday lunches at Windsor, the summer holidays at Balmoral, the intimate birthday celebrations. If Beatrice and Eugenie are viewed as potential leaks by proxy, they become pariahs within their own clan. It is a form of social and familial exile that would be incredibly difficult for the princesses to navigate, especially as they try to raise their own children with a sense of royal heritage. The central question that Jasmine Carey poses is one of maternal sacrifice versus personal survival. Would Sarah really risk damaging the relationships she has with her daughters and the relationships her daughters have with their royal relatives? It is a question that cuts to the very core of Sarah's identity. Throughout her life, Sarah has always maintained that her daughters are her blood, her pride, and her greatest achievement. She has often spoken about the tripod they form, the three of them standing together against the world's storms. She has famously said, "We are the tripod. We support each other." Would she really kick out one of the legs of that tripod for a book deal? The temptation, however, is undeniably vast. We have seen the cultural and financial impact of Prince Harry's memoir, Spare. While that book caused an irreparable rift between Harry and the rest of the family, leading to his effective relocation to California and a Cold War with Prince William, it also generated tens of millions of dollars in revenue. For someone facing the growing stress of having to find private accommodation, as Carrie describes Sarah's situation, the lure of such a sum must be nearly impossible to ignore. The Duchess is a woman who has often had to sing for her supper, and the publishing world knows that she possesses a treasure trove of stories that have never been fully told. She was there for the Annus Horribilis of 1992. She was there for the breakdown of the Wales marriage. She was there for the transition of power. But what would a tell-all from Sarah Ferguson actually look like? Unlike Prince Harry, who spoke from the perspective of a son and a brother who felt wronged by the system, Sarah's perspective is that of an outsider who was once the ultimate insider. She was the favorite daughter-in-law of Prince Philip for a time, sharing his love of carriage driving. She was a confidant and partner in crime to Princess Diana during the early years of their marriages. She has observed the transition from the reign of Queen Elizabeth II to King Charles III from a very close, albeit often marginalized, vantage point. The potential for revelations is endless. She could write about the true nature of the relationship between the Queen and Prince Philip in their later years. She could offer insights into the king's private thoughts on the future of the monarchy. She could even provide a defense of Prince Andrew, attempting to rehabilitate his image in a way that the palace has strictly forbidden. However, every word she writes would be a landmine. If she is too honest, she is a traitor. If she is too vague, the book fails to sell. It is a tightrope walk with no safety net. Yet there is also the matter of Sarah's own legacy, which she has worked so hard to rebuild. In recent years, she has transformed herself from a tabloid punchline into a voice for cancer awareness. She has bravely shared her own battles with breast cancer and, more recently, a diagnosis of malignant melanoma. She has used her platform to encourage early screening and has shown a level of vulnerability that has resonated with the public. She has positioned herself as a grandmother, GG to her grandchildren, and a woman of resilience. Releasing a book that attacks the institution her daughters are so proud to be a part of would likely undo all of that hard work. It would transform her from a resilient survivor back into the loose cannon persona that plagued her in the 1990s. Jasmine Cary's piece emphasizes that, as of now, there is no official confirmation that such a book is in the works. The Duchess's representatives have often been quick to downplay rumors of sensationalist memoirs, focusing instead on her fiction writing and her charitable endeavors. But in the world of the royals, where there is smoke, there is often a very expensive fire. The financial pressures of the modern world do not exempt those with titles, and as the king's plans for a slimmed-down monarchy continue to evolve, the space for the Yorks within the royal fold seems to be shrinking by the day. To truly understand the gravity of this situation, we have to look back at the history of Sarah Ferguson's relationship with the press and the palace. When she first entered the royal scene, she was a breath of fresh air. She was fun, she was energetic, and she seemed to be the perfect match for the dashing Prince Andrew. She was one of us, a girl who liked to laugh and didn't take herself too seriously. But the transition from a private citizen to a member of the House of Windsor is notoriously difficult. Sarah struggled with the rigid protocols, the men in gray suits who run the palace, and the relentless, often cruel scrutiny of the British tabloids. The infamous toe-tucking photographs from 1992, showing her in a compromising position with her financial advisor while still technically married to Andrew, are still etched in the memories of many who followed the royals during that era. It was a scandal that effectively banished her from the inner circle for years. Prince Philip, in particular, was known to be deeply hurt and angered by the embarrassment the scandal brought to the Queen. For a long time, Sarah was persona non grata at major royal functions. She wasn't invited to Prince William's wedding in 2011, a snub that she later admitted was painful. It took decades of quiet persistence and the unwavering support of Prince Andrew and her daughters for her to be slowly, tentatively welcomed back into the fold. In the final years of Queen Elizabeth II's life, it was noted that the monarch had a soft spot for Sarah. They shared a love of dogs. Sarah now looks after the Queen's beloved corgis, Mook and Sandy, and a love of the countryside. The Queen reportedly appreciated Sarah's absolute loyalty to Andrew during his darkest hours, even when the rest of the world turned its back on him. This hard-won acceptance, this peace treaty with the crown, is what is now at stake. If Sarah were to publish a book that the palace deems treacherous, she wouldn't just be losing a house. She would be losing the forgiveness she spent 30 years earning. And then there is the impact on the grandchildren. Princess Beatrice is a mother to young Sienna and a devoted stepmother to Wolfie. Princess Eugenie has 2 young sons, August and Ernest. These children are growing up in a world where their family history is a matter of public record. They are currently part of the extended royal family with all the history and tradition that entails. Do they deserve to grow up in a family divided by a literary broadside? Do they deserve to have their mothers' and aunts' relationships with the king, their great-uncles strained, because of a decision made by their grandmother? The cycle of royal rifts is a long and painful one, and Sarah Ferguson is currently holding the pen that could start a new chapter of conflict. The royal family, often referred to as the firm, operates with a long-term vision that spans generations. They survive by maintaining a certain level of mystique and a high level of internal loyalty. King Charles III, in his new role, is reportedly very focused on the concept of duty and discretion. He is attempting to modernize the monarchy while preserving its dignity. While he has shown kindness to his nieces, Beatrice and Eugenie, even reportedly considering them for more formal roles to help with the workload during his and Catherine's health battles, his primary responsibility is to the institution of the monarchy itself. If a member of the extended family becomes a liability to the crown's reputation, he has shown that he is capable of making the difficult decision to distance the institution from that individual. We saw this with Prince Harry, and we have seen it with the stripping of Prince Andrew's military titles and patronages. We also have to consider the perspective of Prince William. As the future king, William is said to be even more protective of the family's privacy than his father. Having witnessed the fallout from his brother's public declarations, William is reportedly very cautious about who is allowed into the inner sanctum. He values loyalty above almost all else. If Sarah Ferguson were to write a book that touches upon William's life, his marriage, or the lives of his children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, the door to Adelaide Cottage or Kensington Palace might be slammed shut for the York family forever. For Beatrice and Eugenie, who have always been close to William, this would be a personal tragedy of the highest order. Jasmine Carey's report brings to light the growing stress Sarah is under. It's important to remember that while these individuals live in palaces, they still face human anxieties. The fear of losing one's home, the concern over one's financial future, and the desire to provide for one's children are universal feelings. However, for a duchess, the solutions to these problems are often fraught with political and social landmines. Sarah is in a gilded cage of sorts. She has the title and the history, but she lacks the sovereign funding that provides the security and stability she craves. The Duchess of York has always been a bit of a gambler. She has taken risks throughout her career, from her business deals in America to her foray into reality television. Some of these risks have paid off handsomely, allowing her to maintain her independence. Others have ended in public apology and embarrassment. But this particular gamble, trading royal secrets for financial security, is perhaps the most dangerous one she has ever faced. It is a choice between the large sums rumored to be offered by publishers and the priceless value of her daughter's trust and their standing within their own family. As we watch this story unfold, we have to wonder what conversations are happening behind the closed, heavy doors of Royal Lodge. Are Beatrice and Eugenie pleading with their mother to stay silent? Are they looking for ways to help her financially, perhaps through their own successful careers or their husband's business ventures, so she doesn't feel the need to sell her story? Or is Sarah herself conflicted, torn between the need to secure her own future and the desire to protect the world she worked so hard to return to? The silence from the York camp is telling, suggesting that these discussions are indeed taking place and that the stakes are understood by everyone involved. The British public has a complex, often contradictory relationship with Sarah Ferguson. Many admire her for her honesty about her struggles with weight, her mental health, and her recent cancer diagnoses. They see her as a devoted mother who has stood by her ex-husband through thick and thin, displaying a level of loyalty that is rare in the modern world. They see her as a survivor who has been knocked down many times but always gets back up. Others, however, see her as someone who has never quite learned the lesson of royal discretion. Someone who is always looking for the next deal, the next headline, the next way to stay relevant. A tell-all book would likely polarize the public even further, cementing her image as either a truth-teller or a mercenary. In the world of our audience, many of whom remember the 1980s and 90s with great clarity, these events feel like a continuation of a long-running drama. We remember the excitement of the York wedding in 1986, with Sarah's stunning gown and the balcony kiss. We remember the sadness of the divorce and the chaotic years that followed. We've seen Beatrice and Eugenie grow from little girls in matching outfits into poised professional women and devoted mothers. We have a vested interest in seeing this family find peace rather than more conflict. The idea of another War of the Windsors played out on the pages of a memoir is something that many would find deeply regrettable. What is pertinent to mention, as the writer Jasmine Carey concludes, is that we are currently in a state of wait and see. There has been no official announcement, no book title revealed, and no release date set. It is entirely possible that the Duchess will choose a different path, Perhaps a more detailed historical novel that uses her knowledge of royal history in a fictionalized way, or a series of lifestyle books that don't involve the personal lives of the royal family. She has shown herself to be a talented writer of fiction, and perhaps that will be her out. However, the very fact that these questions are being asked by reputable royal reporters like Carrie shows how fragile the current situation is. The trust that Carrie mentions is the currency of the royal family. Once it is spent, it is nearly impossible to earn back. For Beatrice and Eugenie, that trust is their lifeline to their heritage. For Sarah, it is the bridge she spent a lifetime rebuilding. To burn that bridge now would be a decision of historic proportions. As we conclude this deep dive into the dilemmas facing the Duchess of York, we want to hear from you. The royal family has always been a subject of intense fascination and debate, and this latest chapter is no exception. It touches on themes of family loyalty, financial survival, and the price of fame. What do you think Sarah Ferguson should do? Do you believe she has a right to tell her story and secure her financial future, regardless of the impact on the royal family? After all, she has lived a unique life and has every right to her own narrative. Or do you agree with the experts who suggest that the risk to her daughter's relationships with the King and Prince William is far too high? Is the stability of Beatrice and Eugenie's lives more important than a multi-million-dollar book deal? Do you think Beatrice and Eugenie should be held responsible for their mother's actions? If Sarah writes a book, should the king distance himself from the daughters as well? Or should they be allowed to maintain their royal roles regardless of what their mother chooses to publish? And finally, do you think the tell-all genre of royal books has gone too far? Has the public lost its appetite for palace secrets? Or are you still interested in hearing the inside story from those who lived it? Please share your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. We always value the insights of our viewers, many of whom have followed these stories for decades, and we look forward to a respectful and engaging discussion. Your perspectives help us see these stories from different angles. If you found this analysis informative and thought-provoking, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends and fellow royal enthusiasts. Your support helps us continue to bring you in-depth coverage of the stories that matter most. Don't forget to check out our other videos on the British royal family, where we explore the history, the scandals, and the future of the monarchy. From the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II to the challenges facing King Charles III and the Princess of Wales, we cover it all with the respect and detail our audience deserves. We have recently posted videos on the King's health journey and the evolving role of the new generation of royals that you won't want to miss. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of our community. We will continue to monitor this story closely, keeping an eye on both the London and New York publishing worlds, and we will provide updates as more information becomes available. Until next time, take care, stay informed, and stay tuned for more royal news and analysis. To provide even more context on this situation, let's look at the broader implications of the tell-all culture that has permeated the modern era of the British monarchy. For centuries, the mantra of the royal family was, "Never complain, never explain." This philosophy, championed by the late Queen Mother and strictly adhered to by Queen Elizabeth II, served as a protective shield for the institution. It created an aura of mystery and dignity that allowed the monarchy to survive through periods of immense social change. It was the magic that Walter Bagehot famously warned should not be let in upon by the light of day. However, the 1990s saw a significant shift in this approach. The publication of Andrew Morton's Diana, Her True Story, in 1992 changed everything. For the first time, a senior member of the royal family, Princess Diana, had collaborated, albeit secretly at the time, with an author to tell her side of the story. The book was a global sensation, but it also blew the doors off the palace, revealing the deep-seated tensions, the loneliness, and the unhappiness within the royal marriage. It stripped away the magic and replaced it with a soap opera reality. Sarah Ferguson herself followed suit shortly after her divorce, publishing her first autobiography, My Story, in 1996. In that book, she was remarkably candid about her struggles with the firm, her feelings of inadequacy, and her rocky relationship with certain members of the family. At the time, she felt she had nothing left to lose. She was already out of the inner circle. She was struggling with a massive debt estimated at $7 million, and the book provided her with the financial means to pay off those debts and start a new life. It was a survival tactic, but the world of 2024 is very different from the world of 1996. Today, the royal family is smaller, more slimmed down, and the stakes are arguably higher. The monarchy is under constant pressure to justify its existence in a modern, democratic society. Every scandal, every public rift, and every tell-all book provides ammunition for those who wish to see the institution abolished. This is why the potential for a new book from Sarah is seen as such a threat, not just to her family, but to the very stability of the monarchy during a time of transition. Furthermore, we must consider the Harry factor. Prince Harry's Spare was a watershed moment in royal history. It didn't just tell a story, it attacked the very character of the King and the Prince of Wales. It painted a picture of a cold, calculating institution that prioritizes its own survival over the well-being of its members. It broke the ultimate royal taboo by revealing private conversations between a father and his sons. If Sarah were to release a book now, it would inevitably be compared to Spare. If she is seen as joining Harry in a crusade against the palace, the repercussions for her and her daughters would be amplified tenfold. She would be seen as part of a unified front against the king, something Charles would likely find unforgivable. There is also the sensitive question of Sarah's health. As we mentioned earlier, the Duchess has recently faced 2 significant cancer diagnoses in a short period. Such life-altering events often lead individuals to reflect on their legacy and their truth. Sometimes this results in a desire to set the record straight once and for all, to leave a definitive account of one's life. However, it can also lead to a renewed focus on family and the desire to avoid any unnecessary conflict during one's remaining years. Many hope that her health journey will lead her toward a path of reconciliation and peace, rather than more public battling. A memoir written from a place of gratitude and reflection would be very different from a tell-all written for a paycheck. The financial aspect cannot be overstated, and it is tied directly to the Royal Lodge siege, as some have called it. The cost of private security for non-working royals is a major point of contention. When Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties, the loss of their taxpayer-funded security was a major sticking point that eventually led to legal battles. For Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, the situation is increasingly similar. As Andrew is no longer a working royal, the question of who pays for the 24-hour security at Royal Lodge is a constant source of tension. Reports suggest that King Charles has been footing the bill for a private security team for Andrew, but he is reportedly looking to end this arrangement. If that happens, the Yorks would have to pay for their own security, an expense that can run into the millions. A multi-million-dollar book deal could, in theory, solve this problem for Sarah, allowing her to fund her own security and housing indefinitely. But is financial independence worth the price of familial exile? Is a 30-room mansion worth the loss of your daughter's trust? Jasmine Carey's report highlights the growing stress of having to find her private accommodation. This suggests that the pressure from the palace for the Yorks to move out of Royal Lodge is real, immediate, and perhaps even legal in nature. Royal Lodge is held on a 75-year lease from the Crown Estate, which Andrew signed in 2003. However, the lease has strict requirements for the upkeep and repair of the property. If Andrew cannot afford the repairs, which are estimated to be in the millions, he could technically be in breach of the lease. The king has reportedly suggested that the Yorks move to Frogmore Cottage, the smaller but more manageable home previously occupied by Harry and Meghan. Frogmore is also within the security perimeter of Windsor Home Park, which would solve the security issue. However, this move would be seen as a significant downgrade in status, something the Yorks have been resistant to for years. They see Royal Lodge as their home and their right. This housing dispute is the backdrop against which the tell-all rumors are swirling. In the world of high-stakes negotiations, a book deal can be used as a bargaining chip. There is speculation in some circles that the rumor of a book is being used to persuade the king to let them stay in Royal Lodge. "If you don't let us stay, I'll write the book," is the subtext. However, such a move would be incredibly risky. King Charles is not known for caving to threats, and such a strategy could easily backfire, leading to an even swifter eviction and a permanent break in relations. It's a game of royal chicken where no one wins. Let's talk more about Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. These two women have navigated an incredibly difficult path with remarkable poise and dignity. They have had to deal with the public disgrace of their father following the Epstein scandal, the constant tabloid fodder of their mother's financial woes, and the pressure of being royal without having a defined job or income within the institution. Despite all of this, they have remained loyal to both their parents and the crown. Beatrice, who recently celebrated her wedding to Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi, a wedding that was a model of royal understated elegance, has become a fashion icon and a respected figure in the tech and charity worlds. She is known for her work with dyslexia charities, drawing on her own experiences with the condition. She is seen as a bridge builder within the family. Eugenie, who works in the art world as a director at a major gallery and is a patron of several charities focused on modern slavery and scoliosis, has also built a life of substance. She splits her time between the UK and Portugal, carving out a private life while still appearing at major royal events. Both sisters are said to be very close to their grandmother's memory and are determined to honor her legacy of service and discretion. They understand better than anyone the importance of the family's reputation. If their mother were to betray that discretion, it would put them in an impossible, heart-wrenching position. They would be forced to choose between their mother and the rest of their family, the king, William, and the institution they were born into. For two women who value family above all else, this is a nightmare scenario. They have already had to navigate the complexities of their father's life. To have their mother add another layer of scandal would be a heavy, perhaps unbearable burden to bear. We must also consider the role of Prince Andrew in all of this. While he is no longer in the public eye, he remains the central figure in Sarah's life. They are a unit. His legal battles and the significant settlement he reached have undoubtedly drained the family's private resources. Sarah has always been his fiercest defender, often describing him as a good man who has been unfairly treated. Some wonder if a book deal would be a way for her to provide for him as well as herself, to ensure he can live out his life in the style he is accustomed to. But again, the cost to their daughters is the variable that makes this such a tragic calculation. The royal family is currently in a period of immense transition and vulnerability. With the King and the Princess of Wales both facing significant health challenges, the family is more focused than ever on unity, stability, and carrying on. The public mood is one of sympathy and support for the crown. This is not a time for tell-alls, public grievances, or sensationalist headlines. It is a time for the family to pull together. If Sarah Ferguson were to disrupt this unity with a book that rehashes old scandals or creates new ones, she would likely find very little sympathy from the public or the palace. She would be seen as self-serving during a time of national and familial concern. In conclusion, the situation surrounding Sarah Ferguson and the potential for a tell-all memoir is a complex, multi-layered web of financial pressure, familial loyalty, and royal politics. As Jasmine Carey so aptly pointed out, the stakes are not just about a house, a bank account, or a bestseller list. They are about the future of Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie and their place in the history of their family. The Duchess of York has a decision to make, one that will define her legacy and the lives of her children and grandchildren for years to come. Will she choose the path of the tell-all, securing her financial future and her residence at Royal Lodge, but risking her family's trust and her daughter's royal standing? Or will she continue to find creative, discreet ways to support herself through her novels, her speaking engagements, and her charity work, while protecting the bonds that hold her family together? As we've discussed, the history of the royal family is filled with stories of sacrifice and scandal. Sarah Ferguson has been a part of both. Her journey from the exuberant young Duchess of the 80s to the resilient, health-conscious grandmother of the 2020s has been one of the most fascinating royal arcs to watch. We can only hope that For the sake of Beatrice, Eugenie, and the 4 young grandchildren who are the future of her line, she chooses a path that leads to peace, privacy, and reconciliation, rather than further conflict and exile. Thank you for staying with us through this extensive, deep dive look at the royal news of the day. We know that for many of you, these stories are more than just headlines. They are a part of the cultural tapestry of our lives, reflecting universal themes of family and duty. We appreciate your time, your attention, and your engagement. Before you go, we want to remind you to share your thoughts in the comments. This is a story with many sides, and there is no easy answer. Do you think the Duchess will actually write the book? And if she does, will you read it out of curiosity, or will you boycott it out of loyalty to the crown? What advice would you give Sarah if she were sitting across from you today? Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel for more in-depth royal analysis. We have a lot of exciting content planned, from historical retrospectives on the Queen Mother to the latest updates on the Prince and Princess of Wales's return to full duties. Thank you again for watching. We value your presence here in our royal community and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, stay informed, stay curious, and have a wonderful day. As we wrap up, let's reflect on one final thought. The British monarchy has survived for over 1,000 years, not because it is perfect, but because it is adaptable and because its members, for the most part, understand the weight of the crown. However, the one thing it cannot survive is the loss of its dignity and the trust of those within its inner circle. The tell-all culture of the 21st century poses a unique and modern threat to that dignity. Whether or not Sarah Ferguson chooses to contribute to that culture will be the ultimate testament to her character and her commitment to the family she has been a part of for nearly 40 years. Only time will tell, as Jasmine Carey says, and we will be here to tell you that story as it unfolds, with all the detail and context it deserves. Thank you, and goodbye for now. Stay tuned for our next update, where we will look at the upcoming royal tours and how the York sisters might play a role in supporting the king on the global stage.